All right, so ready to dive into something kind of game-changing.
Okay.
Building apps that work, smoothly across the web as native apps. Let's just say it's been a developer's nightmare for a while now.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got a ton of tools and frameworks that promise the world, but complexity usually ends up winning.
Right. It's a classic problem. Trying to bridge this gap between web and native
Mm-hmm.
often feels like we're stuck with, clunky workarounds and compromises.
Exactly. What if I told you there's this new React framework called One? Claims to solve this problem once and for all. Imagine this. Building your app once, having it run flawlessly, on the web, iOS, A&D, Android, all with the speed and responsiveness of a native app.
What's really fascinating here is that One is based on this whole idea of local-first development, a concept borrowed from the native app world. It basically means your app works primarily offline, syncing data quietly in the background. This gives users that instant, snappy experience that they love about native apps, but now we're bringing it to the web.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me I can build a web app that feels as smooth as my favorite mobile app? How does that even work?
Or the secret sauce is a combination of some pretty clever technologies and a focus on developer experience. Think of it like this. One is it's like having Rails for React, providing a carefully curated set of tools. That just eliminates decision fatigue. It takes care of all that boilerplate and configuration. So you can focus on what really matters, building your app's features and logic.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But how is One different from all the other frameworks out there? What makes it actually stand out?
Well, One is built on Vite, which is known for its blazing fast bundling and development server. This means faster build times, quicker feedback loops, smoother development experience overall. They've even managed to ditch Metro, that traditional bundler for React Native, which has been a major source of frustration for a lot of developers.
Oh, you know what? I spent weeks wrestling with Metro on my last project. The thought of never using it again is music to my ears. So what does this mean? I can finally say goodbye to juggling separate code bases for React and React Native.
That's precisely the goal. One aims to unify web and native development with a single code base and a consistent set of tools. There's a really compelling case study, actually, with Uniswap, a popular decentralized exchange. They used One to share 90% of their code between their web and mobile apps, which resulted in faster development cycles and perfect feature parity.
Wow, 90% code sharing, that's impressive. But doesn't this kind of unified approach come with some trade-offs? I mean, One sounds pretty opinionated. What if I need more flexibility or want to use different tools?
You're right. One does make some decisions for you up front. It comes with pre-selected components and libraries, like Tamagui for styling, which might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's not a straitjacket. You can still customize, opt out of certain features, and integrate with other tools if needed. Think of it like choosing from a curated menu. You can start with a minimal setup or go for the full stack option, which comes with Docker and Postgres already configured.
Okay, so it's like having a starter kit. That I can adjust to my liking. That makes sense. But let's talk about routing and rendering. What's One's approach there? Is it similar to what we've seen in frameworks like Next.js?
Yes. One uses a file-based routing system, much like Next.js, where your file structure defines your app's routes. However, it adds a really unique twist. You can switch between SPA, SSR, and SSG modes on a per-page basis.
So I can choose the optimal rendering strategy for each page, depending on my needs. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. This level of flexibility allows you to gradually migrate existing apps or fine-tune the performance of specific pages. It gives you the best of all worlds without sacrificing developer convenience.
Okay. Speaking of speed, I've heard whispers about this groundbreaking database called Zero. That one we'll be integrating with. What's the story there?
So Zero is all about bringing the speed and responsiveness of client-side databases to the web, while still leveraging the power and consistency of Postgres on the server side. Imagine the snappiness of a native app, but with the robustness of a full-fledged database.
Hold on. You're saying Zero lets me use Postgres, a server-side database, but it feels like I'm working with a local database. How does that even work?
It's a bit like magic, but the technical details are quite fascinating. Zero only syncs the data your app actually needs, not the entire database, which significantly reduces data transfer and improves performance.
Wow, that's impressive. So One is all about speed, both in development and in the user experience. But I have to ask, with AI advancing so rapidly, are opinionated frameworks like One even necessary anymore? Couldn't AI just handle all the boilerplate and configuration for us?
It's a really valid question,
Yeah.
and one that the creator of One has addressed directly. While AI can be a powerful tool for automating certain tasks, it's not a replacement for thoughtful architectural decisions and design thinking. There's still a need for human judgment and creativity when it comes to choosing the right tools and shaping the overall structure of an application.
Yeah.
One's creator believes that AI can really enhance the whole development process, but it shouldn't replace human ingenuity.
Mm.
One aims to kind of strike a balance, using AI to automate those mundane tasks while empowering developers to make those key design choices.
They're not afraid to embrace AI, but they're also cautious about over-reliance. Makes sense. I love the idea of AI helping me write code faster, but I also don't want it to take over my entire job.
Exactly. It's about finding the right synergy between human and machine intelligence. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the potential downsides of this tightly integrated system. Is the gain in speed and simplicity worth the potential loss in flexibility?
That's a great point. One is making a bet on a very specific vision for the future of development. A vision centered around this local-first approach, with zero at its core. But what if that vision doesn't pan out? What if zero doesn't live up to the hype, or one's chosen tools become outdated?
Those are all valid concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you choose an opinionated framework,
Yeah.
you're inheriting its dependencies and limitations.
Yeah, if zero falters, it could have a ripple effect on one's ecosystem. And if one doesn't adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of web development, well, it could become obsolete.
So there's definitely some risk involved, especially for early adopters. It's almost like investing in a startup. The potential rewards are high, but so is the uncertainty. Precisely. But that's often the case with innovation. The early adopters are the ones who shape the future. For better or worse, they're the ones pushing the boundaries and discovering the true potential of new technologies.
Well, I have to admit, I'm really curious about this zero database. It sounds incredibly powerful, but also kind of mysterious. Can you demystify it a bit for us? Like, how does it actually work?
Okay, so think of Zero as a bridge between client-side and server-side data management. It harnesses the power of Postgres for data storage and consistency, but it also creates a smart client-side cache that enables offline access and real-time updates.
Okay, so I get the benefits of a robust database like Postgres, but with the responsiveness of a local database, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that's possible.
The key is, Zero doesn't sync the entire database with the client. It uses a technique called change data capture to just track the changes made to the data. So
Cool.
only the updated information is transferred back and forth, minimizing data transfer and keeping everything super sappy.
Okay, that's incredibly clever, and I understand they're using WebSockets for communication between the client and the server?
That's right. WebSockets allow for real-time, bidirectional communication. So any changes made on the client are instantly reflected on the server, and vice versa.
It sounds like a match made in heaven for a local-first approach, but I'm sure there are challenges too. What about conflict resolution? If multiple users are editing data offline, how does Zero ensure that everything merges smoothly when they come back online?
That's where things get really interesting. Zero uses something called CRDTs, or conflict-free replicated data types. Think of CRDTs as like a smart way for data to merge without conflicts, even when people are editing offline.
So it's like a self-healing database. That sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, it's a testament to the ingenuity of the developers behind Zero. They've really thought through the challenges of offline-first data management and come up with some elegant solutions.
Surely there are some trade-offs, right? I mean, nothing is perfect. What are the potential downsides of using Zero?
Well, one challenge is security. When you're storing data on the client side, you need to be extra careful about protecting sensitive information. One recommends using encryption and other security measures to safeguard user data.
That makes sense. And I imagine there's also a learning curve involved. Zero is a pretty novel approach to data management, so developers might need some time to wrap their heads around its concepts and APIs.
Absolutely. There's always a learning curve with new technologies.
Mm-hmm.
But the one team seems to be very focused on developer experience. They're providing clear documentation, tutorials, and examples to make it easier for developers to get up to speed with Zero.
Well, I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm hearing so far. One sounds like a truly innovative framework with a lot of potential. But before we get too carried away, let's take a step back and talk about the bigger picture. How does one fit into the overall landscape of web development?
That's a great question. One is definitely pushing the boundaries of what's possible with web development. It's challenging the status quo and proposing a new paradigm for building applications.
It's like they're saying, hey, we can do better than this. We can create web apps that are just as fast, smooth, and responsive as native apps.
Exactly. And they're not just talking the talk. They're walking the walk by building real-world applications with One and demonstrating its capabilities.
The Uniswap case study is a pretty compelling example. They managed to achieve near-native performance and feature parity across their web and mobile platforms using One. That's not something you see every day.
It really speaks to the power of One's approach. By unifying web and native development and embracing this local-first philosophy, they're opening up new possibilities for what we can build with web technologies.
Now, I realize that One is still a relatively new framework. It's got a lot of buzz, but it's also got a lot to prove. What are the biggest challenges facing One right now?
Well, one challenge is adoption. For One to succeed, it needs to gain traction within the developer community. It needs developers to believe in its vision and embrace its way of doing things.
That's true of any new technology. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. Developers won't adopt it until they see real-world success stories. But those success stories are hard to come by until there's a critical mass of developers using the technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance. But the One team seems to be doing a good job spreading the word, engaging with the community, and building momentum.
They're also actively developing the framework and adding new features. They recently announced a new typed file system routing system that combines the simplicity of file-based routing with the type safety of TypeScript. What are the benefits of that for developers?
Typed file system routing provides several advantages. First, it makes your routes more predictable and easier to reason about because the structure of your routes is directly reflected in your file system. Second, it leverages the power of TypeScript to catch potential errors early on. Your IDE can help you identify type mismatches or invalid route definitions before you even run your code, which saves you time and headaches down the road.
That sounds like a win for developer productivity, and it aligns with One's focus on creating a smooth and enjoyable development experience.
Precisely. And they're not stopping there. They're constantly exploring new ways to improve the framework and make it even more powerful and user-friendly.
Yeah, it's clear that they're really passionate about this, creating a framework that not only solves these technical challenges, but also makes developers' lives easier. It's refreshing to see that commitment to developer experience.
I agree. They really seem to get it, that a framework is only as good as the people who use it. If it's a joy to work with, developers will naturally gravitate towards it.
And it sounds like they've really thought through those pain points of cross-platform development, managing different code bases, wrestling with inconsistent styling, ensuring feature parity. These are all issues that One aims to address.
Yeah, they've taken a holistic approach, providing solutions like Tamagui for styling, Vite for bundling, and Zero for data management. It's about creating this seamless workflow where all the pieces just fit together harmoniously.
It's almost like they're trying to reinvent the wheel, but in a good way. They're not just iterating on existing frameworks. They're rethinking the fundamental principles of how we build cross-platform apps.
It's a bold move, and it's definitely generating a lot of buzz in the community. But as with any new technology, there are definitely risks involved.
Absolutely. One is still a young framework. It's got a lot of potential, but it also has a lot to prove. What if it doesn't gain widespread adoption? What if unforeseen challenges arise?
Yeah, those are valid concerns. One's success really hinges on a few key factors. First, it needs to continue to attract a vibrant community of developers who believe in its vision and contribute to its growth.
It's like a snowball effect. The more developers use One, the more resources, libraries, and support will become available, making it even more attractive to other developers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Second, One needs to stay ahead of the curve. The web development landscape is constantly evolving. New technologies emerge, best practices change, and user expectations shift. One needs to be able to adapt and evolve to remain relevant.
Right. They can't just rest on their laurels. They need to keep innovating and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And finally, One needs to deliver on its promises. The hype is great, but ultimately it's the results that matter. Developers need to see that One can truly simplify cross-platform development, improve performance, and enhance the user experience.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Should you jump on the One bandwagon and start building your next app with it?
Well, that's a question only you can answer. It depends on your specific needs, your risk tolerance, and your vision for your project. If you're excited about a cutting-edge framework that promises to streamline cross-platform development and deliver blazing fast performance, then One is definitely worth exploring.
If you're more comfortable with those established frameworks, Or prefer to wait and see how things shake out, that's totally fine too. There's no right or wrong answer.
The important thing is to be informed, weigh the pros and cons, and make a decision that aligns with your goals and priorities.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the ins and outs of one, its potential benefits, its potential risks, and its place in this evolving world of web development.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of this promising new framework.
Remember, this world of technology is constantly changing. New ideas emerge, old paradigms are challenged, and the possibilities just seem endless. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries of what's possible.
And who knows, maybe the next groundbreaking framework is just around the corner, waiting to be discovered.
Until next time, happy coding.